At 2:47 on a Tuesday afternoon, I flipped a kill switch and within seconds 847 trucks across the Memphis industrial area lost their route instructions, traffic lights locked in place, loading dock systems shut down, and nearly 5 years of flawless logistics work vanished while I calmly watched it unfold on my laptop from a diner booth with a cup of black coffee as Amanda Pierce's entire operation fell apart in real time. But to understand why, I need to go back. My name is Marcus Thompson, I'm 48, and for the past 23 years I've worked as an independent transportation systems consultant after leaving the Army, where I spent 6 years handling convoy logistics and learned fast that broken routing systems don't just cause delays, they can cost lives. And today I live in a simple ranch house outside Memphis with a garage workshop where I build custom hardware, no flashy website or online self-promotion. Just word of mouth from companies whose distribution networks are collapsing and whose executives are desperate, which is exactly how Apex Freight Solutions hired me 4 years and 8 months earlier when their operations chief, Bobby Martinez, called one tense Thursday morning and admitted they had failed their fourth audit in 2 years and were on the verge of losing their interstate permits. Bobby told me straight up that he didn't want a theory expert but someone who understood how logistics works in the real world, and that made sense because he was old school. A guy who started by loading trucks long before computers took over and knew that behind every screen and dashboard there are real machines that either work or don't. So when I first walked into their facility, the disorder was impossible to miss with trucks stacked up at loading docks, drivers sitting around waiting for instructions, dispatchers glued to phones trying to sort out routes, and traffic backed up at the gate because the signal system was still running on outdated settings. And as we walked the warehouse, Bobby explained they were using 3 separate systems that didn't connect, one for dispatch, one for loading crews, and traffic control handled almost by hand, which cost them nearly 2 hours every shift just to get everyone aligned. So over the next 18 months I built them a complete custom system designed around their operation, including routing software that learned Memphis freight patterns, traffic signals that actually synced with the city, real-time GPS tracking that adjusted schedules on the fly, and more than 120,000 lines of code all created, tested, and refined from the ground up. And once it went live, the impact was instant with deliveries hitting every single window on time. After the system went live, dock congestion disappeared, trucks moved smoothly through the corridor, and even state auditors came through twice without finding a single compliance problem. And Bobby kept in touch with real emails that focused on efficiency gains and cost savings rather than empty corporate praise, showing he understood both what he was paying for and the value he was getting. Especially since our contract was straightforward and gave them the right to use my system while I kept full ownership of the code, algorithms, and infrastructure, something Bobby agreed to immediately because he knew the difference between access and ownership, and for more than 4 years everything ran exactly as planned with on-time payments, flawless performance, and the occasional respectful call from Bobby about future improvements. But then he retired and 3 weeks later Amanda Pierce took over, armed with an MBA, expensive style, and the confidence of someone who thinks they've inherited total control. And her very first email wasn't an introduction but a cold message titled Vendor Expense Optimization Review filled with corporate jargon about cutting costs and reviewing dependencies, even though my invoice hadn't changed once in 4 years. So I replied calmly with the original contract and clear performance data, only to receive a response 2 hours later saying she needed to schedule a full review of all external service agreements. When Amanda Pierce asked me to prepare documentation for internal assessment of operational frameworks, I knew exactly what kind of executive she was. Someone who thought she could understand a complex technical system just by reading bullet points on a PowerPoint, so I started preparing, not for her review, but for the moment I knew was coming, and 3 days later her predictable email arrived, subject line: Software package requirements, asking for a full copy of my system for internal evaluation and possible transition, which confirmed my suspicion. She wasn't reviewing the contract, she wanted to take my system, so I replied with a technically correct but deliberately unhelpful answer: happy to provide what's included under your current lease, then opened the admin console that controlled every part of their operation and got ready to teach her the difference between access and ownership. And the next morning she emailed again, subject line: Contract clarification request, asking whether the operational logic framework belonged to Apex, referring to what was actually 4 years and 8 months of custom routing algorithms, traffic synchronization, and real-time optimization engines as if it were just a corporate asset she could move around at will. I took a screenshot of the contract clause and sent it back, bold and unmistakable. All system logic, design, architecture, and source code remain my sole property, licensed for operational use only, no resale, replication, or derivative works. Something Bobby had fully understood when he signed, because a custom logistics system isn't office furniture. You license access to infrastructure that took years to build and needs ongoing maintenance from its creator. And 2 hours later Amanda replied, coldly, we will be transitioning to internal infrastructure solutions effective immediately. Thank you for your service. With no discussion, no transition plan, no acknowledgement that she was about to shut down their entire operation, just corporate speak for you're fired and we're taking your system. While I leaned back and looked at my workshop, where in the converted garage sat the custom control panel I'd built for Apex, every major subsystem wired with dedicated switches I soldered myself, traffic, dock assignments, routing, GPS tracking, all flowing through circuits Amanda had no idea existed, because she thought the system was just software on their computers. She was about to learn the difference between a user interface and real infrastructure. 4 days after her termination email, a calendar invite appeared, service transition discussion, Thursday 2 p.m. Central, with no agenda or context, just a title that suggested she expected a simple handoff. I joined the video call 5 minutes early, wearing a clean button-down with my home office in the background, my engineering license and army commendations visible, professional, no flash. Amanda logged in 3 minutes late, settling in with that executive look of someone who thinks cost-cutting equals problem solved. A procurement woman joined next, Michelle Roberts, and then a younger woman, probably Amanda's niece Jenny Pierce, who deferred to every comment. Bobby Martinez was nowhere in sight, unsurprising since he would have advised against this approach, and Amanda clearly ignored his old-school perspective. Marcus, thanks for joining us, she began, her tone casual as if this were routine. We've decided to bring infrastructure management in-house. We appreciate your work, but we're ready to take control of operations internally. Take control, she said, as if clicking through a user interface was the same as running the actual system. I kept my face neutral. You're ending the lease agreement. Correct. Correct, she replied, leaning back like she expected praise for her decisiveness. We'll need a complete handover of all code, system diagrams, and back-end credentials. Standard transition process. Michelle Roberts nodded. Jenny Pierce typed notes, everything choreographed like a normal vendor termination. I didn't flinch. You're not licensed to access the core infrastructure. Your agreement only covers operational use of system outputs. You never purchased ownership. Amanda's confident smile faltered. We paid for development, Marcus. That makes it our intellectual property. Standard business practice. I leaned forward. You paid for access to a working logistics network, not the underlying technology. Section 4 of your contract makes that clear. She glanced away, probably pulling up the contract, scanning language Bobby had reviewed with legal 4 years ago. Look, she said, trying to regain control. We understand there may be technical complexities, but we're prepared to handle operations internally. Just send whatever files you have so we can maintain continuity. I'll provide everything you're legally entitled to receive, I said. Nothing more. Silence hung over the video call. Michelle Roberts shifted uncomfortably. Jenny Pierce stopped typing. Amanda's jaw tightened as it sank in that this wouldn't be the simple asset transfer she expected. That'll be fine, she said finally, trying to end the call quickly. We'll expect delivery by end of business tomorrow. I didn't reply. I just stared into the camera as she fumbled with her mouse, clearly hoping to disconnect before I could further complicate her plans. The screen went black, and I closed my laptop. Amanda Pierce thought she understood technology because she could navigate software and read quarterly performance reports. She had no understanding of the physical infrastructure, the custom hardware, the dedicated communication protocols, or the specialized expertise needed to keep it all running, and she was about to learn. I went to my workshop and powered up the control panel. Every light was green. Traffic nodes synchronized. Route calculations updated in real time. Dock assignments flowed smoothly. The Memphis freight corridor operated exactly as I designed. Then I began building Amanda's transition package, professional-looking documentation with clear diagrams, polished technical language, user interface screenshots of dashboards and data visualizations, everything neat and official, but completely useless without access to the underlying control systems. I spent the afternoon crafting the exact kind of deliverable Amanda expected to receive. I created visual materials designed to make her believe she had everything needed to run operations independently, interface mock-ups with animated displays, system diagrams showing logical flows, completely disconnected from the real infrastructure. By 6 p.m., the professional-looking package was ready. I attached it to an email with a single line, system interface documentation provided per contract termination. No back-end access included. I hit send, knowing Amanda Pierce would soon learn the difference between holding a steering wheel and owning the engine. I returned to my workshop, sat at the control panel, and rested my hand on the master power switch. The real lesson was about to begin. The next morning, I drove to Mickey's Diner, ordered my usual black coffee, and settled into the corner booth with a clear view of the parking lot. Nicole, the waitress who'd served me the same order for 3 years, nodded and left me alone with my laptop. I opened the administrative console. Every indicator was green. Traffic flowed through 47 synchronized intersections, 847 trucks received real-time routes, and dock assignments cycled efficiently across 23 warehouses. Everything Amanda thought she controlled was running through the custom hardware in my workshop, 20 minutes away. At 2:45 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Amanda asking for login credentials. I stared at it 10 seconds, then deleted it. At 2:47 p.m., I toggled the master relay switch. The map on my screen froze instantly. Every green indicator turned gray. Real-time data feeds dropped to 0. Signal synchronization froze mid-cycle. The entire Memphis freight network simply stopped communicating. I took a slow sip of coffee and watched 4 years and 8 months of precise logistics coordination vanish in silence. The system didn't crash or show errors. I designed it to fail gracefully. No alarms, no warning lights, no dramatic shutdowns. The user interface still loaded perfectly, showing cached data and giving the illusion that everything was fine, but underneath, nothing was connected. For the first 8 minutes, it looked normal. Dashboard still green. Dispatchers seeing routine traffic patterns and dock assignments, drivers following their last instructions. But no new data flowed. I pulled up live camera feeds. At 2:55 p.m., a delivery truck waited at a red light that should have turned green 30 seconds earlier. The signal timing was frozen. At 3:02 p.m., 2 trucks arrived at the same loading dock with valid Bay 7 assignments, but the dock algorithm wasn't running to prevent conflicts. By 3:15 p.m., the ripple effects were clear. Traffic backed up at 4 major intersections, and loading queues formed at warehouse entrances. Dispatch schedules still showed everything green and on time, but the reality on the ground was completely different. I refreshed my inbox. Nothing yet. They were probably still trying to figure out why the route management system wasn't responding. At 3:22 p.m., the first confused email arrived. Quick question, data sync issue. Hi Marcus. Getting some weird delays on dock queue updates. Can you take a look when you have a chance? Thanks, Kevin Walsh. Kevin was one of their operations supervisors, a good guy and former military like me. He'd understand soon enough, but for now he was just seeing the symptoms. I didn't respond. By 3:35 p.m., emails were coming in every few minutes, route data not updating, signal timing problems at North Gate, multiple trucks assigned to the same bay. Still polite, still assuming it was a technical glitch fixable with a phone call. At 3:41 p.m., my phone started ringing, unknown Memphis number. I let it go to voicemail. Another call, then a third. Panic was starting. I pulled up the system logs and watched connection requests hammering uselessly against the demo package Amanda's team was trying to operate as live infrastructure. Hundreds of failed handshakes, every request bouncing back empty. They were trying to drive a car using only a photograph of the dashboard. By 4 p.m., the situation had worsened. Traffic gridlock at 6 major choke points, loading dock conflicts at 11 facilities, and delivery schedules behind by an average of 47 minutes across the network. Somewhere in a corporate office, Amanda Pierce was probably staring at interface screens that still showed everything working, wondering why reality didn't match the data. At 4:08 p.m., an email arrived with red priority flags, urgent, system failure critical. Multiple operational conflicts. No response from routing controls. Doc assignments completely out of sync. Need immediate support. This is affecting our compliance status. Please respond ASAP. Michelle Roberts. Their corporate politeness was cracking. They were realizing this wasn't a minor glitch. I closed the email and checked the financial impact calculator in my monitoring tools. Conservative estimate, $180,000 in daily losses from delayed deliveries, missed schedules, and compliance violations. The real number was likely higher when factoring in customer satisfaction and penalties. My phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. Emergency situation. Call immediately. I deleted it. At 4:23 p.m., the phone rang again. Apex Freight, Legal Department. I declined, letting it go to voicemail, then declined another call from a blocked number. By 4:30 p.m., I had 47 missed calls and 23 unread voicemails. The Memphis freight corridor was in a cascading systems failure. Nothing coordinated, drivers navigated on stale data, dispatchers issued conflicting instructions, and warehouse managers tried manually to assign docs while computers showed everything green. I opened a new document and started typing. Emergency System Restoration Proposal. Terms: payment via wire transfer before reactivation, rate 2.5 times standard monthly fee for immediate restoration, 72-hour emergency window, and full acknowledgement of service terms and intellectual property ownership. I attached the document to an email addressed to Amanda Pierce, legal counsel, and the operations director with the subject line, Emergency Restoration Services Available, hit send, and ordered another coffee. The education phase was complete. Now came negotiation. At 4:47 p.m., a new calendar invite arrived. Emergency conference call, 5 p.m. Central, immediate response required. No polite phrasing, no corporate niceties, just panic in all caps. I joined at 4:58 p.m., professional and calm in my home office, engineering certificates visible behind me. The screen filled with stressed executives. Henry Coleman, a VP, appeared first, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up, the look of a man who'd spent hours in crisis meetings. Then two attorneys joined, one taking rapid notes, the other reviewing documents. Kevin Walsh, operations director, appeared next, former Navy logistics, system savvy, exhausted but unsurprised, as if he'd expected this moment for months. Amanda Pierce was in the bottom corner, small window, muted, body language showing she'd been sidelined in her own crisis. Nobody said hello. Henry cleared his throat and jumped right in. Marcus, appreciate you joining on short notice. We're facing a major system disruption, Henry began. Operations are paralyzed, and we need immediate restoration options. I nodded once. Your system lease was terminated yesterday. If you want operational access restored, the terms are in my emergency service proposal. The legal counsel leaned in. Marcus, we've reviewed your proposal. Some financial terms seemed elevated given the circumstances. Emergency response pricing, I replied. Standard practice when critical infrastructure fails during business hours. Kevin Walsh spoke, voice tight with fatigue. Marcus, 23 warehouses are offline, traffic is backed up across the corridor, compliance violations are mounting, and insurance carriers are asking questions. He glanced off-screen. 4 major customers are threatening contract termination if operations aren't restored by tomorrow. Henry interjected, we understand communication issues may have occurred during transition, but can we discuss modifying the emergency terms? I said one word, no explanation, no negotiation, no corporate back and forth. Amanda finally unmuted. This is unreasonable, Marcus. You're holding our entire operation hostage over a contract dispute. I looked straight into the camera. You terminated my services and demanded handover of infrastructure you never purchased. I provided exactly what the contract entitled you to, nothing more, nothing less. She began to respond, but Henry cut her off with a sharp look. The legal counsel tried another angle. Would you consider a modified payment structure? Perhaps installments over, wire transfer only. Full payment before reactivation, I interrupted. Kevin Walsh leaned in. Marcus, once payment clears, what's the timeline for restoration? 20 minutes, I said. System comes back online immediately after I confirm funds transfer. Henry looked at his legal team, then back at the camera. We need 5 minutes to discuss internally. Can you hold? I nodded. I'll be here. They moved into a breakout room, leaving me alone with Amanda's muted video square. She stared at the camera, wanting to speak, but didn't. I sipped my coffee and checked email. The emergency proposal had been forwarded to at least 8 people: finance, legal, operations, even their insurance carrier. Everyone trying to understand how a vendor termination had become a company-threatening crisis. 6 minutes later, they returned. Henry's expression had shifted from desperation to resignation. Legal is initiating the wire transfer now. Should complete within 30 minutes. Let me know when it hits my account, I said. 22 minutes later, my banking app chimed with a confirmed transfer. Amount correct, no complications. I walked to my workshop, sat at the control panel, and flipped the master relay switch back to active. Every screen in my workshop lit up green. Traffic nodes reconnected in sequence, route calculations resumed, dock assignments updated in real time, and GPS tracking came back online. The Memphis freight corridor sprang to life as if someone had restarted the circulatory system of a major city. I returned to the video call where everyone waited. System is operational, I announced. All services restored. Henry nodded. We appreciate the rapid response. I said evenly, I didn't do this rapidly. I did it according to the terms you agreed to. Nobody responded. Amanda's camera stayed on, silent since her hostage comment. I left the call without ceremony. For the next 48 hours, I monitored the system from my kitchen table. Everything ran flawlessly, traffic perfectly synchronized, no dock conflicts, no compliance issues, no missed delivery windows. And no communication from Apex Freight Solutions, no emails, no calls, no requests for modifications. They'd learned to stay quiet. Then on Friday morning, a new email arrived from a different sender. Strategic partnership discussion, new terms proposal, from Patricia Wells, VP of Corporate Strategy, brought in specifically to handle the aftermath without mentioning Amanda Pierce. The offer was substantial: a 3-year exclusive contract, enhanced compensation, priority consideration for future expansion projects, all written professionally, respectfully, and acknowledging full intellectual property ownership. I read the proposal twice, then opened a blank document and drafted my response. New terms, stricter protections, ironclad ownership clauses, no room for future misunderstandings about control. 2 weeks later, the signed contract arrived exactly as I'd written it. No changes, no negotiations, no corporate edits. Amanda Pierce's name was absent from the signature page. I closed my laptop and walked to my workshop. The control panel hummed quietly, all indicators green, the Memphis freight network running smoothly under my direction. Word travels fast in logistics. By month's end, I had inquiry emails from companies in Nashville, Atlanta, and Birmingham, all asking the same thing: are you available for system development projects? I wasn't naive. They'd heard about Memphis and knew what happened when someone tried to steal custom infrastructure from an Army logistics veteran who knew the difference between using something and owning it. That reputation was worth more than any marketing campaign. I opened my laptop and began drafting a new document: 2025 Standard Service Agreement, Marcus Thompson Transportation Systems. The foundation was solid. Time to build the next level.